Hey guys, what's up? I'm going to be showing you how to make a DIY reversible bucket hat. This is going to be a step-by-step tutorial on how to cut and sew it, and this one is going to be with a shorter brim, and yes, it's going to be reversible. So all you're going to need is your tape, your thread, your scissors, your sewing machine, and of course the material you're using. And I'm using a jeans trouser which I don't need anymore. Yeah. For this process, you need your head circumference measurement. So mine is 22, and you're going to be dividing it by 6.28. So you have to fold your fabric into two, just like the way you fold it when you want to sew a circle skirt, like a flay. So my head circumference divided by 6.28 gave me 3.5. I'm going to start by placing the tape like so from the angle 90 to where the 3.5, like my own measurement is 3.5, so I'm starting from that angle 90 to where the 3.5 stops, and I'm going to be measuring it like that, marking it like that all the way around to the other end of the angle 90 of the folded material, and I'm going to mark it out like that and then cut it out. And this is the top of the bucket hat. This is the top of the bucket hat. Top of the bucket hat could also be called the crown of the bucket hat. Now we need two of these because, like I said, it's going to be a reversible hat. Many people use different materials, so yeah, this is me cutting out another one, and I folded it like so. So if you do it the way I'm doing it, you're going to get the same result like I'm getting. So we've been able to cut out two of the tops also called the crown. So the next thing you want to cut is the brim of the bucket hat, and we are still needing our head circumference for that. My head circumference is 22, like I said, and you'll be dividing it by 3.14, and I got 7 when I did that. So we start marking it from the beginning of the angle down to where 7 inches stops. From that side, we keep on measuring it from one end to the other end, to the very end. Measure it out, and then you're going to trace it out. Now we ought to have cut the band out first, but remember we are using a jeans trouser and we don't run out of material. So the next thing we want to measure is the length of this brim, and it's depending on you who has the bucket hat. So I'm using 2.5, and then I'm going to add my same allowance, making it 3. So I'll be measuring it from this point down to where 3 inches stops, and I'll be measuring it, marking it out like that. So I want to trace this marked out points so that it can be very clear to me. I haven't done this. I'm now marking out the length I want to attain. You can make yours wider if you want, but I want to use 2.5, then my seam allowance, making it 3 inches. So I measure it, I mark it round this way. I mark it round this way, and then we go down to the very end, and there we go. We've succeeded in measuring the brim. Now, like I said, the jeans we are using is not much, and we are going to, so that we can be able to cut out everything from these jeans, I took out that piece that we've cut out, and I use pins to hold it to another part of the jeans where we can get another of this brim, and we are trying to achieve this brim in 4 places, following the way I measured it from the beginning, which is the head circumference divided by 3.14, and cutting out this size. We will need 4 of this, but if you had cut from the beginning using the same 3.14, your head circumference divided by 3.14, if you had cut it that way on a fold, you're cutting your material that way on a fold, you just need only 2 of this. But I did not cut it on a fold, I cut it plain, just not on a fold. So I will be needing 4 of this piece. We'll be needing 4 of this brim to be able to make our reversible bucket hat. So that's what we're trying to achieve right now. So I pinned the first one I cut out to another side of the jeans, and I've made we've made two of this, so we're going to use this one to cut out the remaining two that we'll be needing. So this is it. I'm cutting out the remaining two that we need. I hope you're understanding it though. So I'm going to cut out the remaining two, just placing it on the jeans on the side where we can achieve the shape, this bow shape. So guys, we have succeeded in cutting out the brim and the top of the bucket hat. Two of the brim goes for one of the top, two other brims go for one of the top, because we have four pieces of brims. Two pieces goes for one of the top, two pieces goes for one of the top. That is for the reversible bucket hat. Now it's time to sew the band, and the band is simply a rectangle that you're measuring out. So the length of the band could be 3.5. Mine is going to be 3.5, and plus allowance is 4 inches. And then the width of the band, what you're going to cut out is just a rectangle. Your head circumference, that is what you're cutting out. If you are going to cut it on a fold, it's going to be your head circumference. Mine is 22 divided by 2, which will be 11. But if you're not cutting it on a fold, if your material is that big and you don't want to cut it on a fold, you just measure your 22 and add your seam allowance, maybe 1 inch or 1.5 inch as your seam allowance. Depends on your material that you have. So mine is 22 is my head circumference, plus my 1 inch seam allowance, 23. And I'm not cutting this on a fold, as you can see. I'm not cutting it on a fold, so I'm measuring the whole 23. And then the that is the width of my head, that is the head circumference. So it's going to be 4 inches long. Why? Because 3 inches is the length that I'm giving it, but for the seam allowance it's going to be 4 inches. For my seam allowance is 4 inches. That's what I'm doing. But if you want to cut it out on a fold, you do your head circumference divided by 2, and that is for one of the bucket hats. We are making two bucket hats so that we can make a reversible bucket hat. And remember, I said that you can use different materials for it. Let the inside be one color and the out be another color to make it stylish, but I'm using one color, one material. So I'm cutting out the band of my hat, and this is the final one. This is the final part of the hat that we're cutting out. It just has three parts, which is the top, the band, which is this one, and the brim, which is the one we just cut last before this band. Those are the three parts of the bucket hat that we are sewing. Very easy, and there's nothing. All you just need to know is your head circumference. That is all. So we've succeeded in cutting out the bands, and we are done with cutting the materials for your bucket hat. So we have the bands, the top or the crown, and the four pieces of brim. Two pieces of the top, four pieces of the brim. Two pieces of the brim goes for one piece of the band, and this is what we have left of the jeans. Now the sewing process begins, and we start with the band. So you start by sewing along the edge of the fabric. Be a straight stitch. Meanwhile, don't forget your reverse stitch. Sew your seam allowance. Do not forget your seam allowance. Having done that, we're going to do a top stitch. The top stitch by folding the flap down and stitching it on top like this. So there you go. So what we want to do next is to mark out some points by cutting those little triangle cutouts like that, so that we can match the band with the top, so that we can be able to sew it well. So we cut out those little cutouts on the band and the top as well. Having done that, you will want to match those cutout parts together. Then you begin to pin or clip it like the way I'm going to do. You can use your pin if you have pin. If you don't have pin, you can use some little clips to clip it, but I have pin, so I'm using it to clip it, to pin it round so that the band is attached to the top. And then I'm just going to sew it round those places that we've pinned. While sewing it, you try to avoid any bunch or those bunchings which happen typically when sewing on a curve. So we've done it. So after joining the top to the band, this is what it should come out like. This is what it should look like. So after sewing it this way, we want to do a top stitch for the band to the top. What we're going to do is that we're going to turn it inside out. We're going to leave it inside out, let the wrong side face the outside, seal, and then we seal the excess, the seam allowance we have in the edge. To get the top stitch right, we cut little notches. It could be 1/4 inch, it could be 1/2 inch, it could be 1 inch, and then we sew it, and there you go. We've done the top stitch and it should look like that, like this. Now the brims, we sew the two sides of the brims like that and like that. Then cut out those little triangle like pizza slice, cut out like that. And having done that, you match up the seams with your pin or your clip. You match it up. Those parts you've cut out, those little triangle parts you've cut out like those pizza slices, you match up those sides together with your pin or your clip so that you can get your best sewing. While you do that, you make sure the connecting seams are lined up perfectly. So if you're finding this interesting or you've learned one or two things from here, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe button for me, please, and thank you. Pin them all the way around this way and sew it. Yeah, pin them all the way around this way, and then you can sew it round neatly, remembering your seam allowance. So there we go. Then notch it in order to relax the fabric. Then you flip it inside out. So we have one hat done, and you repeat the same process to be able to get your second hat. You're just going to do this all over again to get your second hat. So we have our second hat, and now we have two bucket hats. So all we're going to do is going to be able to sew them together, we're going to start finding the seams, then match the connecting seams together. You can like do those pizza cuts, like those little cutouts, those little triangle cutouts. You can do them again, find out where the matching seams are, clip or pin them down together like so, and then you're going to, so since it will be a reversible hat, we need a way to pull it inside out, so we'll leave a wide space enough to pull it out. Like we're going to like skip a part, leave that part for, skip that part so that we can be able to pull this out, leave a wide space like about 5 inches, and then we sew it. So what we're going to do next is we have sewn it together right now. Look at the space we left. We are going to, next thing we're going to do is we are going to notch this round. So I skipped that part. We're going to notch it round. After notching it around, before you flip it this way, flip it through the hole. You have to notch it before you do that, so I forgot to show you that part. And then you're going to close it from here. Yes, close it from that edge and sew it real close to the edge along the whole brim. That's after we found that opening and we've rolled it out. We're going to sew it, so along the edge of the whole brim we're going to sew it round. Yeah, from this point, that's in the process of closing this opening, we're just going to go ahead and sew it round in that form. Yeah, at the very edge of it, that's what we're going to be doing. From this stitch that we've done round like this, you're going to just keep sewing it round in that form, and it's going to be like a 1/4 inch. You're going to keep sewing it as many times as possible. It could be 5 times, could be 6 times, could be 5 times, could be 6 times, and we are doing this so that it can have, it can give the brim a structure, like it can hold itself and it can keep the hearts together. That's what we're doing. Well done, guys. If you have followed up to this point, well done. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, so our bucket hat is ready. Do the fashion, recycle your clothes, don't waste it. Peace. I'm signing out. Yeah, I'm done talking.